Welcome, everybody out there in the interwebs, the land of the great crusading, frontier-driven, technologically advanced people of the earth. Here we go. Welcome to the show. Before I...
I'm retweeting your tweet.
This is what I usually do when I start the show. Justin will begin the show, and he'll be talking, and I'll be on my phone retweeting the tweet.
But I'm going to say, you said we're live, and I put prove it. Okay.
Okay, that's very funny.
Actually, we're here in present time. I'm looking at you, and you're looking. Let's shake hands.
Hello, sir.
I can feel
so
your flesh and bones.
Bones and flesh.
Sorry.
And Mr. Sean Astin has joined us, in case you guys didn't know, in case we didn't drop enough word out there into the universe. Welcome again. Welcome again.
It's good to be back.
The coolest and certainly the most erudite.
Can we say up front
what?
Wait, the most erudite?
Erudite. You are the...
Of hobbits?
You are the most erudite of all the hobbits.
I know I got the
by far.
Dwarves beat, but that's not saying much. But the what I was going to say is there's just a disclaimer right up front. There's no way that this little visit is going to be anywhere near as cool as the last one. That last one was wonderful. Pretty great.
Wasn't it? Now, you guys have to look at our archives, which are on the YouTube channel, and you'll see what happened about a year and a half ago when we visited Sean, and his daughters were bouncing around in the window behind us. And hello.
This person said if we move, we become impressionistic painting. So I kind of like that idea. So I just started moving.
Are we getting pixels? How strong is our upload speed here? We're here at Cross Campus at this really cool place here in Santa Monica. And as the sun is setting in the west behind the ocean waves, we are talking with Mr. Sean Astin, who has just blown the roof off of his Kickstarter for his outstanding talk radio show, Vox Populi, that you have been watching on Toad Hop Network. And now...
You just said a bunch of stuff, and they're like, what? I don't know. Does he still have the cape?
Oh, gosh, that's funny.
I want to be clear that when you just said that the sun was setting behind the waves, it took me right to Frodo setting sail to go to the Grey Havens.
It did, really?
Yeah.
Because the ship sailed right into the sunset.
Yeah, now I can hear the Annie Lennox singing.
I was borrowing some of the dialogue from The Hobbit, 1977, the animated movie.
The Bakshi version.
Well, it was Rankin and Bass.
Rankin and Bass.
The Hobbit cartoon on TV. That was.
So what did Bakshi do?
Bakshi did Lord of the Rings.
Oh, we're talking about The Hobbit. Sorry.
Yeah, talking about The Hobbit.
Sorry.
And we've got John Huston, who did the voice of Gandalf, and he says to Bilbo, "The sun is setting in the west, behind the mountains." And I was about to say mountains. I changed it to ocean waves.
Because here we are in Santa Monica, the Pacific Ocean,
2
right
feet.
behind us. And I must say, driving into our meeting here, the water looks great.
It does.
The water just looks beautiful, and the sun was dancing around. So anyhow, it's nice to once in a while look outside and not just be in my computer. During the Kickstarter campaign that you're referring to, for the first 9 days, I didn't. My wife came in and said, "You didn't. The kids said goodnight to you last night, and you didn't look up." I said, "Yes, I did." She said, "No, you didn't." I said, "Well, I had the feeling of looking up. I might not have actually physically looked up, but but that's how far I disappeared into this whole campaign, the whole project. So I mean, I don't know how much the TheOneRing.net audience knows about Kickstarter. Are they pretty literate?
They are, yes. They know what's the Kickstarter. Well, you guys do know what Kickstarter is in general.
I can do it. You
do it. Jeffrey Lindsay asked us a question in the chat. Go ahead.
Jeffrey, they changed the law. They changed securities law about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Before that, if I had an independent film and I wanted to go raise money privately, say the big Hollywood studio system didn't want me, but I had this passion to make my movie, I was not legally allowed to go seek investments from anyone who had less than $1 million net worth.
Really?
Well, I think you could go to a few. You could go to a few. The non, what do they call them? It's like qualified or something like that. Accredited. There's accredited investors and the non-accredited. And you can only do so many non-accredited, which was a low enough value that they couldn't. You couldn't get your project funded. So you by definition need to have enough non-accredited, it just didn't, the math didn't work. You had to go to accredited investors if you were trying to raise more than a couple $100,000. So, and that was a pain in the butt. So now they changed it. They did this thing called crowdsourcing that most of the audience listening knows about, which means that you can go, and the vocabulary changes. You can go to public and you can say, will you please something, will you please endorse in some way monetarily my project with your, with your funds?
It could be the word donate.
Donate's the wrong word.
Donate is the wrong word. It can't be
because
that word.
Because a donation is tax deductible.
Indeed.
This is not tax deductible.
Not at all.
It's not an investment, because an investment means that you have a continuing financial interest in and stake in whatever the product is.
That's right, and a contractual obligation to get your money back, your dividends back. Yes.
Right, exactly. Of course, that's never happened in the history of movies, because no movie's ever made a profit, including Titanic. But that's a different story.
Oh gosh, I've seen the accounting sheets from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I saw Warner Brothers accounting sheets that proved to their investors that their Harry Potter film, the fifth one, didn't make
Azkaban.
Yeah. It was like Order of the Phoenix, I think. This movie didn't make you any money. Here's your loss sheet. Here's your profit loss statement. I saw that.
No, I know. There are several different sets of those that people get to look at. I don't mean to impugn Warner Brothers. I'm just saying I've signed about 4,000 DVDs of Goonies a month since 1987, or since they invented DVDs, and I haven't seen that merchandising money yet.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Or Lord of the Rings, of course. Lord of the Rings, I don't think no, we did have something. It's all very complex. The point of the story is that when it comes to crowdsourcing, people can back your movie. They can put money in to your movie or your whatever the project is. And with Kickstarter, it's just amazing. Regardless of my project or anything to do with Lord of the Rings, if you just go to Kickstarter.com and just scroll through some of the projects that people are trying to get made, it's incredible.
It is.
People are so creative. I mean, everything from we want to paint a wall mural, we have permission, but we need, $10,000 in paint that we can't afford, and so you can say, oh, well, I'll give you $10 towards your project, and if enough people do that, you can do your wall mural, or your, there's garage bands that want to get their song made, their album made, or there's novelists, people who, I want to make, it's going to take me X amount of time to do this. I have to take off from work, and this is what so there's all different kinds of, TheOneRing, if you guys are ready to upgrade your presentation here, and you knew that you had certain costs associated with that, you could put together your Kickstarter campaign very quickly and easily, given your sophistication. And I guarantee you that this OneRing.net audience, everybody give you at least $1. How many? What's the audience usually? How many people do you usually have? There you go. If everybody gave you $1, that's 21,000. And Kickstarter, they take a percentage of it for facilitating that. But it's you have to have an Amazon account. Can't do it can't back a project without an Amazon account. What it takes to create an Amazon account is an email and a credit card.
And that's all.
That's it.
Similar to PayPal, I suppose.
Very, very, I think easier.
Now, GoFundMe and other crowdsourcing sites.
Yeah, Indiegogo.
Yeah, exactly. They have a policy where you may or may not get partial funds if you haven't reached your top limit. But Kickstarter always has a solid and fast rule that you will not get any of your money unless you meet your goal.
Yes.
We are proud to announce that with many days still left to go, Mr. Seven exactly, Sean Astin has reached his goal, and now this leads to one of our first questions.
For those of you who are looking at a pixelated image, I have both arms thrust champion style over my head. But that was exactly the second half of my conversation with my wife. I'm like, when she's like, you didn't look up to see it. I'm like, there is a finite goal. You have to make all of it.
So in the early days, it was going slow on the Kickstarter at first.
No, you know what? Actually, I think the slowest it's gone is since we made our goal.
Okay.
It went there was one little lull. You know what I noticed is when I had my foot on the accelerator, it was doing great.
You could totally.
That's okay. When I had the foot on the accelerator, it was going great. If I took my attention away, for example, to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle recording session, and then came back, there was a dip. in the number of donations. It was this particular campaign has been about personal contact, personal, direct, of all the, it finally outpaced me. There's like 370 or something like that backers now. But for the first 175, I communicated directly with each and every person. Right. And then now there's a little bit of it's kind of overwhelming to keep pace. But and then reaching out to Facebook and accepting a whole lot of new Facebook friends and having the same style of conversation, but specific to whoever it was, hundreds of times. It bent the mind.
Wow, yeah.
But it wasn't like some of my other actor buddies who have said, "Oh, I want to do a movie," and bang, they instantly get hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to do it. This is different.
It is. Well, I'm suddenly reminded of Portlandia, one of my favorite shows. I love Fred Armisen, they're very talented, and they did a spoof of Kickstarter where a girl who was doing this goofy little, I want to do a little fashion show project or something, and she was whining about it, and the video introducing her project was hysterical, and the sketch comedy led to her dad, who was executive in a rich suit, and he watched his daughter's video and went, click, fully funded.
Right, right.
One click. Thanks, Daddy,
Well, I would, what I was saying was my alerts on my phone were set to vibrate every time there was a backer, a new backer, a new supporter.
Okay.
So I would be wherever I would be, and the phone would vibrate, and I think, oh, it's like Christmas, like Clarence, and every time the phone vibrates, an angel gets its wings,
Thank you, Clarence.
And I would look at it, and it would be like $1. Like, all right, I said that. If everybody gives $1, and my phone's going to vibrate 20,000 times, and it'll be a dead battery, but I'll be fine. So then you look at it, and my one friend put in $2,000. I'm like, what? So I'm emailing, thank you so much, that's so great. Vibrate $1. Yeah, that's awesome. Vibrate $100. Vibrate, and then you also start looking at. So it becomes a sadistic little video game. Crack. Yeah. You're like, am I being validated this 5 minutes? By somebody endorsing the product, but the
It's chasing the dragon, like Once Upon a Time in America, in the den.
It's exactly right.
In the den of opium? No, in the den of Kickstarter. That's funny. Well, Vox Populi. Vox Populi is this passion project of yours. Really want to ask you, how far does your vision go with this? What would you like to see manifest over the next year or the next 5 years? And now that you've got the money in place with the Kickstarter, what will we see in this next season?
Well,
it's a double.
Okay, there's a lot in there.
Double.
I think to answer the macro question first, like what's the ultimate vision?
Yeah.
This idea, underneath all of this fun, crazy campaigning, kickstarting, asking friends for money, all that kind of stuff that happens. Underneath that is actually like something that's important to me. And that is both an idea and a platform. And the idea is that what we need in the world, and certainly what we need in this country, is a citizenry that's a little better prepared. That ultimately, when we can't stay, congressional approval ratings are lower than they've been since they started rating these things, since they started taking these surveys. I actually think that we are largely responsible. We point the finger a lot of times at the leaders, but I think the way that we choose them and the people we choose are often the outcome is preordained, that we're going to get substandard performance. So I think if the body politic is a little bit smarter, a little more comfortable, and a little more engaged, then the conceit is we'll end up picking better leaders who, help structure our government and therefore our society in a way that's more advantageous to everybody.
I would be the first in the room to say that there are many political forces that would be very pleased with an uninformed or a less informed voting public. That way, they can keep the sheeple happy with a minimal bit of effort, and they can retain the reins of power and keep the status quo as they have gone, without falling into the trap of cynicism I am inclined to agree with you totally in that. This is fascinating to me. When it leads to the reason why you have this added little carrot in your title of your show, Vox Populi, the voice of the occasionally interested public. And that's a commentary on the fact that you are really trying to re-engage people's interest in this.
It's so hard. Most people, when I talk to them about, when I initiate a conversation about politics or government with them, have an almost visceral kind of pull away. Mm-hmm. Not to be rude, but you can just see it. Their head almost physically turns away from wherever the conversation is emanating from, you know. And the first thing you get when you kind of encourage someone to talk to you about politics or government is, well, you know, I don't really know that much about whatever the topic is.
That's a safety thing. That's like a coat of safety people try on. I think people maybe instinctually are afraid of being judged immediately if they express a political view.
That's exactly what that is. There's that's 100% what it is, because, you know, either you're at a backyard barbecue where if you say something about your insurance with healthcare, somebody's going to just slam you hard with the word Obamacare. Oh, well, Obamacare, and in all caps. And it's almost like whatever the issue is that's meant to be understood is not. It's like hitting a cymbal really loud. Yeah. Like that person's opinion is so entrenched and their judgment so projected that it makes any kind of conversation, you know what, if you finally get the nerve up to even agree with the person, even agreeing requires a different kind of posturing.
Well, you have to open up. You have to open up this can of worms. You open up the conversation, and people will automatically look for a polarizing thing that they can throw at you. I find.
The point of the show is to create a forum in which the expectation is none of us are experts yet, except for maybe an expert guest that's brought in. But even them, you know, they're an expert in the area that they're talking about. So, for example, we had a Second Amendment episode that was responding to the Sandy Hook school shooting.
Yes.
And we brought in a constitutional law scholar. Well, it was very clear that he had a strong opinion about the law and about how the law should be interpreted, or how new law should be written and should be allowed to exist under the Constitution as he viewed it, or whatever. So you know, I think it's important that it's understood that the show isn't meant to persuade people as such. That, you know, in a dialectic, in an argument, or in an oration, the intention to persuade kind of has you build an argument in a certain way. But if you're really just expressing yourself, you know, or sharing what you know or understand, or gleaning what you can, you know, for when I'm doing the questioning of certain, you know, experts or people with, you know, a refined study in a particular area or experience, if the idea is to gain insight, then, and that's what the expectation of the forum is, people approach how they phrase things a lot differently, and it's so much nicer. Yeah. It's so, and they can be just as passionate. They can be just as, maybe not just as passionate, but they can be passionate. They can be forceful. But as long as they understand that if you say something that is kind of an attacking phrase, or a word that's meant to libel someone or question their intention, I sort of pause and go, wait, hang on a second. You know, as soon as you said that, I can feel that my audience stopped, you know, their ability to really feel through the argument has been impeded. You've stopped progress with that. So can you phrase what you're saying differently without judging what that person's saying? And then, you know, so people, it's frustrating because you have to think differently a little bit. Yes. But ultimately, I think all of the people who've listened to the show and the people who have, certainly the people who've spoken on the show, have all fed back that they really felt that they had an opportunity to say things when there was something critical said to them. It was said A, respectfully, but B, with an opportunity for them to take as much time as they needed to address the criticism.
Yes.
And so it's an amazing thing when everybody goes away from a conversation. I'm thinking of the last time there was a major violence moment in Israel. We had a Jewish expert on Israel, very close to the Knesset and all that, and a Muslim, very strong, prominent voice, Muslim voice, and I moderated a conversation between the two of them, a debate, and you could just tell that they were they were working so hard to try and exist in the format, and they did, and I think I did a very good job moderating it.
Indeed.
And what did you didn't hear that episode?
I did.
So what did you think?
I thought it's very amazing how you can dance around this type of sensitive subject and have you had both of them avoid demagoguery. You succeeded in that.
Well, I think they were
it's
clear.
a challenge for both of them as individuals and a challenge for you as a moderator.
There was a moment towards the end where it was clear that the conversation could go on forever.
Yes.
Or and has for many years.
Yes.
Without a satisfactory resolution. But so you could tell that there became kind of rhetorical laziness on both their parts. Do you know what I mean? They would say, and yet somehow it was better than attacking. Mm-hmm. Like the conversation, we all knew it had to resolve itself in that moment. And I'll tell you what, if you watched and listened to it, and then you try and figure what must it be like, and we're just guys on the sideline, what must it be like if you're at a conference? You know, people should really try and put themselves in the positions of, okay, the planes have landed, they've gone through their security check, they've done their meeting, like, are they going to shower before they go to the thing? Yeah. When they go there, there's a table with all the flags in the middle, and they're going to, what's been agreed to ahead of time? Like, really trying to put yourself in the position of those individuals, I don't think is something people do enough of. I think people formulate their judgments and are very kind of reactionary. And I think if they did that, if the exercise was, let's get 10 people who don't have they're not stakeholders in it, to try and share what they think might be happening in those meetings or those rooms, boy, it's interesting. It's interesting because you think, oh, well, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of, the amount of time it takes. Now, I mean, with the internet, I have no idea how they do those summits. You know, I watched John Kerry go, from the Senate hearing to the congressional hearing to the airplane to the moment in Russia where he was, or wherever he wasn't Russia, he was somewhere else, and just thinking every place he was speaking with up to the minute information about when did he learn it? He must have, like on the plane,
in the car on the way there.
I know, and so you just kind of I think that the value that my show can provide is to model those conversations.
This is great. Ustreamer766 has said, thank you for caring about engaging people with the world we live in and for being an instrument of education and mediation.
That sounds like you wrote it.
No. That is the way I write, but I did not say that. But I did not. Thank you.
I bet my mom wrote that. No, she couldn't figure it out.
That's great. And I agree with that. I mean, to introduce any political conversation in this day and age, and I've even seen some of the people here in this chat have said some.
Give me an example.
Well,
that way I can model. I can show you.
Okay, I think one of our friends had an advertisement come in right in the middle of his viewing, and he said, "Yay, an ad to give a break from this Obamaganda," as if you were here for that sole purpose of promoting an agenda of anybody's agenda.
I've started learning to identify trolls and haters. I never liked the idea of people, and I don't think once a troll, always a troll, or once a hater, always a hater. But it's hard to look past some of that stuff sometimes, and I will find myself drawn into a conversation, and usually, if it's a person of goodwill,
yes,
we resolve ourselves after some period of time in the exchange on Twitter or wherever.
Indeed.
With like, okay, well, I appreciate what you're doing, but this is why I said what I said. And okay, well, I appreciate that, you felt the need to do that, and we can kind of agree to disagree. But then the next time, I noticed they're a little bit more thoughtful before they're not that likely to just hack away at you because they're at the computer and they can. Obamaganda.
I have not heard that one yet, but
I wish we could have the person on the phone because I'd want to ask some questions. I want to ask some questions about what their knowledge and understanding of healthcare is, because my personal knowledge of the healthcare issue is so finite, is so limited that I find myself very, very reticent to endorse anymore.
My healthcare that is provided by a local organization in Los Angeles has contacted me many times saying, take an appointment with us and come meet one of our professionals who can talk you through all these options and this whole thing that's happening and how it's going to affect you.
With the exchanges?
Yes, absolutely. I have person-to-person contact with professional people who can help explain it to me. And I'm very lucky to be in a position where someone's available at my healthcare center. Not everyone is. Not everyone is going to have
one would like to think that
walk them through it.
One would like to think that once all of the parties have contributed to the process and we've arrived at a product that's as good as what people feel can be gotten, as opposed to the one-sided product that's available now.
Yes.
So now people are trying to figure out which side I'm on.
Yeah, right.
Everyone should have that.
I hear people texting me, tweeting. I'm getting tweets right now saying we should have an NHS like in the UK. And when I was watching Absolutely Fabulous and laughing my ass off in the early 90s, they would make jokes on that show about NHS, and I didn't know what that acronym stood for.
The National Health Service.
Yeah, any Londoner would know that, but I didn't know it. I looked it up. I figured it out.
I remember I went there with my wife and I were in London. It was like 1991, and we both clearly had like sinus infections. And we're visitors from out of the country, and
I get that every time I go to London too.
Yeah.
I do.
But I just remember we went in, and this guy, it was like out of a Monty Python sketch. It was kind of an older guy. His ears were like the size of elephant's ears with hair that kind of went everywhere. And he kind of, every time he spoke, he kind of had to cough up some, and the medicine, he described for 20 minutes how we needed to dress in the weather there. That we weren't dressing properly. You must have, you can see, I have an underlayer here, and you can fold this vest over thusly, and if you have the overjack. And I just remember thinking like, wow, he's probably right, and is there Zithromat?
That's funny.
There's a question that just came up in the chat.
Yes?
Do you feel the United States is too big to offer something like healthcare equally?
Yes. And by big, well, I think it's nearly impossible to offer health care to everyone equally, and I find that a shame. I find it a shame. In fact, I think it's there's a lot of things that we should be able to do, and we used to be able to do even as recently as like a year ago across the governmental spectrum, but we're stretched a little thin. Indeed. Our military is stretched thin. Our social system is stretched thin. We're a government we're contracting. See how I said that?
Well done.
Contracting.
Well done.
If you say decline, then you're this like, what, you don't love America? Like, I love America. I'm a proud American, and I think that we, I think we are extraordinary as a people. We put people on the moon. We've helped cure diseases. We've done extraordinary things.
We have innovated in so many ways.
We are not living up to. This is one of the most damning things that was said to me when I was in school as a kid was not living up to his potential. Not living up to potential was code for like you're kind of failing. You know what I mean? It wasn't said like you're not living up to your potential. Here's what we're going to do to get you to exceed your potential. It was like that's the category that we've got you in now, and we're going to go focus somewhere else. So, and I think America, unfortunately, is in the not living up to its potential thing, based on our illiteracy rates, based on our we have to do better. And part of the reason we don't do better is because that Nimrod, who made that comment about Obamaganda. Isn't contributing well. He got noticed.
No, he
got noticed. Where is he?
That's Tim Dolph, and he's been a user who's been on a couple of shows before. Socialist governments are going bankrupt, Sean.
Yes, Tim Dolph, my friend. Are you listening to me? I'm going to look and wait to see that you say you're listening. Are you listening to me?
There may be a little bit of a lag time, but yes, he's there.
But I'm going to wait.
Okay.
I'm going to wait for Mr. Timdolf.
Okay, very good.
Timdolf, can you hear me? I'm waiting. I'm sure he's going to say yes. Are you listening?
Oh, yeah. No, well, we're not trying to burn anyone. We're just trying to open up the dialogue.
I take it back. I use the word Nimrod. I apologize categorically. I hate name calling, and I was wrong for doing that. So, Timdolf, please forgive me for having referred to you in that disparaging way. Where is Timdolf now? Timdolf.
On a related topic,
Yeah.
I had a recent discussion about the branding of Obamacare. The word itself has a
There he is. Hold on. He's here. He's here. Oh, yeah. It's got its own brand. Okay. Timdolf. Socialist countries are going broke. This is your statement. I don't refute it. Separate thought. America does not insure enough people medically. True or false? Agree or disagree?
I wonder if we have like a 2-minute lag time, we'll get an answer from him.
Now, I know there's a lag. That's okay. What I'm saying is, as we're reading through the conversation that's happening, certain things, there are certain themes that come through. And I actually think it's not just representative, it's not just sort of emblematic of what the national conversation is, it's directly representative of what the conversation is. Mm-hmm. So the people who get noticed are the people who use rhetoric that is very, well, I'm trying not to be disparaging at the moment, that use, that kind of hurl epithets and are bold to the point of being rude. Those are the things that get noticed.
That's true. And an attention-getting statement is a little more than a slogan. I have to ask anybody I'm in conversation with, you can make an inflammatory comment at one point, but can you back it up with reasoning, with some facts, with some foresight about what you're talking about? And that's why I'm one of those people who's also reluctant to have political conversations in general.
So Timdolf, I was talking about thinking that it was sad that America couldn't have medical insurance and medical care for all of its citizens. I said very quickly, no, I don't think that's possible, right? And then I said, and it makes me sad or whatever. I'm disappointed that that's true. And then the first thought back from Timdolf was, it's not a socialist countries are failing. So okay, now what? Where can we go from here? Where can we go from here? Are we going to live in a place where we just accuse people of being socialist sympathizers? Or can we be a place where we have a conversation that is based in empathy and an understanding of the free marketplace, and maybe quest for some new appreciation for what's possible and work together to get there? That's what my show seeks to do.
That's great.
You just made one more comment.
Oh, yes. Let's see now. My only point is that the government is not the way to do it. It is the most inefficient, expensive way to solve the problem.
So how else might it be done? Because non-governmental organizations, the government's the only one with the, I'll say, presumed power to force you to give it money.
Well, there's a statement that has been floating in the air forever because it was written down on a very important piece of paper: provide for the general welfare. Mm. And that's why we don't look to non-governmental organizations to put these kinds of resources together. And also because private companies in the private sector are prone to a slant when they have an emphasis on profits and not on product. And we've seen that happen time and time again historically with other companies. So that's another consideration, I think, Timdolf. Now, before we get too lost into these other branches of the conversation, this is exactly what Vox Populi is like.
Exactly it.
This is exactly what you guys are experiencing what we're going to really look forward to.
But in Vox Populi, hopefully I would have an expert who could sit down and talk about the Affordable Health Care Act. And you know, I mean, right now, it's just amazing to watch the news cycle. I mean, the fact that the website stinks and, you know, people are confused, and the ability to answer questions the way you have with your provider, local provider, it's what gets, unfortunately, what happens is society doubles down on what's wrong. It's such a bummer that it didn't get rolled out better, and that everybody who had such high hopes for it has to now like become an apologist for a system that in the immediate moment doesn't work. When what's being missed is an opportunity.
Power is the problem. Government is the problem, because government only works by coercion. This is not the goal of the founding fathers.
Well, when Tim Dolph's a guy I got to talk to. Yeah. Tim Dolph, I hope you, when the show is back online, when Vox Populi is back online, I really hope you call in, because I think that there's something about the sound of a person's voice that really allows you to absorb their intentions a little bit differently, and there's not a delay in the conversation. So, but I would just say that you remind me of several people who are regular contributors to my show that are thoughtful, that are have a very strong point of view, and who make the conversation more interesting. So, but I think point for point on the scrolling thing isn't going to work for the two of us at this moment.
Not right now, because there's a 2.5 minute delay. But a lot of fans are asking to change the subject, which I was just about to ask. With Vox Populi really kicked off now, excellently. We look forward to many interesting new guests, and
that's part of the whole idea was to hire a producer and a social media person.
Yes.
So both of whom can help with the booking, because it was too. I was doing it all by myself, and it was gnarly. You know, there'd be some major news event. I'd be watching the news, watching C-SPAN. I'd be listening to it while I was riding my bicycle. I'd be reading as much as I could on my tablet, and then I'd be trying to figure out who'd be good guests, and then I'm tweeting conversations and seeing what people are interested in, and then pulling once I figured out a guest, and maybe I'd get them and maybe I wouldn't, and then try and load up the pre-interview. Like everything that it took, I was doing it by myself, and it was too hard.
On the horizon, are you looking at perhaps hosting a show that is video broadcast on a news network or a cable outlet? Do you have any ambitions for that, John?
What I started to say at the beginning, this was your first question basically, but the idea of providing a forum for civil discourse, where it can be a lively exchange, but where people are decidedly not hacking away at each other, and doing it in a way that's kind of fast and interesting, and can go as high and as far as anything, because it's what's needed in the world, and everybody knows it, and everybody says it, but then people don't endorse it. That's why I think a lot of people who contributed to my campaign, they sort of they were forced to kind of for a moment think, well, this is the kind of thing I always say, we should have something like that. So, okay, there's $25. And this is what the places that do it, PBS, all of the, like the Bill Maher show, and there's always a moment with those shows, those public shows, where they have to do their funding, their fundraising, and it's so boring the way they do it, and it's repetitive. They do it all in a whatever it is, like a 2-day time span or whatever, and I feel their pain.
I agree.
I feel their pain more now than I ever have, having spent a week or two trying to.
Well
trying
done.
To do that. So, but it could go wherever it wants, either with me or without me. At the moment, what I know is that a journey of 1,000 miles. It doesn't just begin with a single step. You have to take each and every step along the way. You can't just all of a sudden leapfrog it.
Yes.
So at this moment, trying to get our stretch goals, like enough money to be able to pay for a full-time producer, and we really want an app. You should have a TheOneRing app.
We actually
You
do.
do?
We do
Oh,
have.
is it great?
It's a nice little news. It's a news filter, and it doesn't have much functionality, and it doesn't have a great user interface. But it filters direct stories and our lead news right to your device.
That's cool.
It doesn't give like hot links to our live event page, which you're watching now.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
That's what we're going to work on.
And the
We're gonna
ability
work on
to push a button and actually call in.
Yes.
Like call in from that thing. Like, you know, how easy would it be to call in? Just go to your app, doop doop, or make your, you know, if you're on a train somewhere and you can hit a thing and send in your question and
I'm
whatever.
so down for that. I'm so
So
down
what
for
that's
that.
that 30,000 more, 28,000 more is what we're trying to do. But so there's that. Then
Mm-hmm.
what? Then I want to like have some fun doing fulfillment on for these backers, the stuff that can be done right away, the bracelets we already have right away. So
Yes.
I can, you know, do those. There's autograph pictures. We can do those, you know, and certain things that and then to sort of take pictures and involve the backers and the rest of the people out there in the Twitter sphere and on the Facebook stuff, so that they can see like this is actually kind of a grassy rootsy sort of a deal, and then the process of hiring the 2 or 3 people begins. And I've already had people start submitting their resumes, and I tell them to submit their if they want to produce, you know, to be considered as a possible producer for the show, or a social media person for the show, or someone who's kind of got good research experience, because that always happens. You really want kind of things at your fingertips.
Right. Yes.
So that kind of thing, or someone who can help with booking. Sean Astin, Vox Populi at gmail.com. And I'm asking people to send in a 1-minute video introduction of themselves too.
That's great.
Because you can tell a lot about a person with how they present themselves that way. So Sean Astin, Vox Populi at gmail.com. .com.
Got it.
I said the wrong thing before, and yeah. So and that it's fun. It's been great looking through, thinking of being an employer of a radio show. Because I've been this kind of desperate, hungry, like clawing, scraping guy with a radio show. Now to be like, I actually have some resources from the people to hire the people to help the people. You know, it's all good.
I think it's great. I'm excited.
Were you inspired by anybody's podcast network or anything to kind of start your own thing?
Yeah. In case anybody didn't hear Justin off camera, yeah. What kind of podcasters or webcasters did come to from that creative?
When I was doing training for the marathon, I've run 3 marathons this year.
I wanted to ask you more about Run Third.
Run
3
Third.
this year?
Yeah, I just did Chicago Marathon. Run Third for podcasters. But to answer your question, the 2012, I want to say, marathon, everything kind of blends together. My brain can only hold so much data. But I think it's the 2012 marathon that I started during my long distance runs out in the West Valley, which is where my kind of track that I train on. There's a bunch of really long, great streets, and there's some hill training and stuff. I really wanted, actually, when was it? It must have been, it was even longer ago than that. It was during some election cycle. But anyhow, I really wanted to listen to political podcasts.
Yes.
So, and I can't remember the names of them, but I found a couple, but I actually was a little disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, I really wanted more. I wanted more. Listen, it's hard. I realize now that it's hard to do, but and I also probably didn't know everything that was out there. But the couple that I listened to, it was a lot of their own personal opinion. Yes. And I really wanted to be hearing more from experts. Like I would have been thrilled to hear their opinion after hearing from somebody who's really knowledgeable on the subject. Yes. So like I sort of come front and center and say, as a host, I do not have the depth of knowledge of some of the people on either side. Ed Schultz on MSNBC, yes. This is a knowledgeable guy.
Yes.
Say what you want about Sean Hannity, but he knows a lot.
Yes.
So I do not have my life and reading and experience, I think, is really fantastic, and I think lends itself well to being a host, but it's not the same kind of experience that you would traditionally expect from a talk show host. I couldn't pull out chapter and verse on different amendments that were passed or different times that things were overturned. I am like, I think most Americans, where when something happens, I start digging in right away to try and figure it out.
Yes.
And there's people who are a lot better than I am at figuring out how to get to the most salient, information quickly. And so when you find yourself in a conversation with those people, you think, wow, okay, they They've really armed themselves well. So what I'm good at is in the absence of a huge war chest of knowledge about certain things, government or political, is an approach.
Yes.
Is an approach to understanding it, and that's trying to be. Sometimes everything can't always be even. Everything can't always be fair. Sometimes just some people are just right and some people are wrong, and so I try and guide the conversation to a place where we can better make that judgment for ourselves.
Where you can parse those things out of the way that don't need to be there and get to the kernel of truth. I noticed that you're less about providing, in your show, your format is less about providing a strong editorial slant, the way that Mr. Schultz or Mr. Hannity or Ms. Maddow will provide a strong opening editorial piece. And your show is more about opening up and broadening the wavelength of the conversation.
I think it's only fair. I think it's only fair. First of all, it's because I don't have as strong an opinion as they do.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, when I listen to them, any of those people, I find myself, wondering where they get the conviction for that idea.
Yeah.
And when Rachel Maddow talks, I'm just sort of blown away by how much she seems to know. But once I listen to them, any of them, Rachel Maddow included, talk for a period of time throughout the course of their show, I'll see what, to me, are limitations in their thinking. So and to me,
that comes when you have a strong editorial slant. That just comes automatically.
I mean, you're bound to show your weaknesses.
You're bound to, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's really smart people don't know anything about a lot of important stuff. So how are those really important? And there's this weird feeling, like we started talking about, in the public where it's almost like I'm not going to worry about that right now, or I can't worry about that. There are most of the people who I would gather are listening to us right now or watching us right now are not that type of person. I would think most of the people who are thoughtful and informed enough to kind of jump on this esoteric platform, they're the people who really recycle. Yeah. They're the people who really vote, and they have lawn signs, or they go and stuff envelopes. They know how to. They're really engaged. I would guess that that's most of these people. But in my experience, and anecdotal, evidence it has to be taken with a grain of salt. But in my experience, a vast majority of the people I come across are not so interested in it, in politics or government.
We need to change that.
Well,
and I agree with you.
I think if people could have a working facility with the system, so they don't need to spend. We're in an advanced society. People shouldn't have to. The people who are running the government should be running the government. But at the moment that we choose who is going to be doing that, everybody shouldn't be figuring that out for the first time.
Exactly.
People should be,
Exactly.
Conversant in, there's words, Obamacare, New York Times, right? I mean, Fox News, those things, just the words by themselves evoke an emotional response.
They do.
And that's not right.
If I overhear anyone at a party saying, I read on the Drudge Report, then I have to stop and say, what kind of a filter are you really getting for your news? But this is a fascinating conversation.
Drudge? You disparage Drudge for his...
I do not. Actually, I kind of envy, and I also disparage, but I also envy. I have a love-hate relationship with Mr. Drudge and what he's accomplished and what he does at the same time. Another fan question in the chat room.
Yeah.
Allow for 180 degrees diversion. That is not a bottle of ketchup. It is, Sean, some kind of a red blended juice thingy.
Oh, this is just carrot, apple, beet, ginger, spinach,
it's the
maca.
beets. It's the beets.
The beets are what make it red.
The beets will do that too.
I'm doing a vampire show, but
speaking of some of the...
Question a few minutes ago, you've done 3 marathons, but how many conventions have you done this year?
Yes, that was
this
one
year?
of my next questions.
I dropped in at the Ohio and Montreal. I dropped in at the last second.
They have Comic-Cons in Montreal and...
I went to Japan for Japanese Tokyo Comic-Con. I went to the Middle East. What?
San Diego?
I was in San Diego, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in San Diego. I was in the. I went to Dubai
Wow.
for a Comic-Con.
You've been to
I'm trying to think of the domestic ones I've done this year, besides Ohio.
You've done almost 9, 10, or a dozen Comic-Cons this year. That's amazing.
Jeez.
In addition
crazy.
to recording sessions for the series,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Okay, TMNT.
Which I just came from now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, the connection to Kevin Eastman, you've heard before, that Mr. Kevin Eastman, the original creator of TMNT, is a hardcore Ringer fan.
Yeah.
And his wedding band is actually the One Ring of
He
Power.
showed me,
Yeah, he showed. You know this. You
yeah,
know this about Kevin Eastman.
yeah.
I love that guy.
He's really nice.
I love that guy.
I was thrilled that he liked he was bragging on our version of it, which was cool.
That's really good.
You made the front page of Reddit this weekend.
I
Yes.
did?
With an autograph that you did.
Oh, with my brother?
It said you autographed someone said, "Jenny, please stop crying." I guess someone had said their wife cries at all your speeches.
That's
in
funny.
2 hours.
Please stop crying.
And it was the front page of Reddit.
Is it really?
And on our Facebook page, you got like 6,000 likes.
If I got $1 for every tier, we could afford the app for Kickstarter. That's funny. That's really funny. What can you say? You signed so many autographs. Please stop crying. It could be read a number of ways, couldn't it? Annoyed, or sympathetic.
Certainly sympathetic.
Do you see a transition from being popular on Reddit to like a little spike in the Kickstarter?
No.
No.
No, in fact, that period of time you said this weekend was the most flat it's been. And the reason it was flat is because I was doing father duty and paying attention to my kids and doing stuff with them for 2 days. And I noticed that it just flatlined out. Nice. So it's because on this particular project, sometimes people just want, I know somebody who did the, what's her name, got the $6 million with the Kickstarter phenom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Kevin Smith actress got $6 million on a Kickstarter?
No, it was, no.
No, wait.
Kristen?
No. Come on, somebody put it out there. They're going to put it there.
They will. Somebody will in a...
Anyhow, but certain people, they just wanted the shirt. Like, why did you want that? I just wanted that shirt. And the Kickstarter experts I've talked to have said that, people love to support things. Mm-hmm. And this is a strange community of people that you have here that actually love to support things and do support things with their dollars. Mm. But most people, they do it for the reward. They do it for the specific get. What are they going to get out of it? Yeah. So this particular show, the success on Kickstarter comes from a direct personal ask from me. And even if it's, I've got this coterie of diehard fans who have been tweeting and Facebooking and providing information and working with this Kickstarter experts that I've been talking to, and they've been doing everything. But what moves the needle, I did a radio tour, 22, I think it was, radio stations. One morning, you basically sit there. You do them for every movie. Every actor knows it. It's like, all right, you're in Detroit. Good morning. How you doing, Detroit? Hey, how you doing? And you do 3 minutes with Detroit, and then 3 minutes with Atlanta, and then 3 minutes with Orlando. And I did all of that, and the hosts loved me, loved the show, talked about the show, promoted the show to their listeners while I was on there, made a big ask, like maybe $100 over the whole 22. Because it's just not what people do. There's modes that people get in that have to do with clicking on a button and clicking the green back this project. And it's listen, if people do $1, they'll do 50. It's literally the effort, the gesture it takes to lean forward, and this is what marketing people have been doing for a couple hundred years, is trying to figure out how to coax you out of it. People are like, well, what wouldn't you do? I'm like, well, if there's some large-chested woman who had Vox Populi written on it, kind of leaning forward to the camera. That's what Howard Stern did.
Exactly.
That's what Howard Stern did. Howard Stern created an empire by talking about lesbians and showing boobs. That's like, I haven't done that, so I'm fired up about my 375 listeners. There's one. I was finally talked into doing a DVD, autographed DVD thing that wasn't to do with Vox Populi. So yeah, there's a the Lord of the Rings DVDs, Goonies, Rudy, 51st Dates, and one or two others are up there. Encino Man, the most that I hear about at the conventions.
Yes.
They can choose any one of those to get autographed. Or I think I have something up there like they can choose a trilogy. Either the trilogy or some grouping of three. I don't know.
Yes.
I tried to. It's so hard. Like, how do you value something? You know, I mean, in the conventions generally set the parameters for what they think. And your booker, like, you know, they know what people are going to want to spend. You know, if I went in and with Leonard Nimoy and tried charging, $125, people would be like, you know, I love Goonies and all that, but, you know, I don't think so. And if you charge, $5, the line would be out the door. But it's, to me, there's got to be some intrinsic value in the moment of the exchange. Both at the convention, the moment that they come up and say hello and you meet them and you look in their eye and shake a person's hand or say hello to their children, or the moment that somebody pushes back this project. There's got to be something in that moment to realize that, yes, this project would not get made if it wasn't for you pushing that green back this project button.
The OneRing.net hotline, you're on.
Uh-oh.
Bonjour, Tolkien girl.
Well, hello there, Tolkien girl. Welcome to the live show.
Thanks.
What did you want to say hi to Sean?
I can hear you. My name is Sean. I can hear you. Hi, Tolkien girl. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Are you laughing or crying? Because I'm supposed to tell you not to cry if you've been crying. Are you laughing? You sound like you're laughing. All right, we're going to do something together. We're going to take a deep breath, okay? Everybody's going to take a deep breath at the same time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? Deep breath in now.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, very good. That worked like a charm.
That was
Sean.
my hosting skills there. What's going on, girl?
This and that.
Where are you?
Canada.
Canada. I'm going to Canada soon. I've been in Canada. Where in Canada?
Ontario.
Ontario, okay. We won't get any more detailed than that.
I love Toronto.
No.
Toronto and Ontario, I've always had a good time up there. The people are really nice. And Toronto is surprisingly clean for such a big metropolitan city. It's really very nice.
I agree. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? Can I answer any question for you? Do you want me to talk to you about anything? Or do you want to tell me something?
Well, I do have one question, but,
Oh, is that right?
first, I just want to say thank you so much for doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You are an amazing actor. You are actually my favorite character in all of the movies. And I actually have speech from the Two Towers, as embarrassing as it is to say, I have the speech from the Two Towers memorized.
Which
So
one?
That was my, the speech that Sam says in the Two Towers, when they're in Osgiliath and Frodo has pretty much given up.
What does he say? What does Sam say?
Oh, great. No.
It's like in the great tales, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered.
Like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. Sometimes he didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened?
Boy, you remember that better than I do.
It's embarrassing to remember.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's actually wonderful, actually.
Well, you're welcome, and I it feels so weird when people thank me because I feel like I'm supposed to turn around and thank Peter, and he's supposed to turn around and thank Tolkien. It's like I guess we're all. It's a gratitude society because it is an absolute blessing for me to be a part of it, and I appreciate your good words and thank you for that.
So I do have a question, though.
Okay. What's your question, my dear?
In the Lord of the Rings appendices, in the movie appendices, like the making of, I noticed that one particular part of it was all the injuries that happened on set. And John seemed to be the worst. And how long did it take you to recover from that?
From?
The injury.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I
book.
just want to say that B. Dawson A1, I know you exist now. So B. Dawson said, I just want Sean to know I exist. It's a strange want, but
Thank you,
it has
Tolkien
come to
girl.
pass. Tolkien Girl, thank you very much. I'll answer your question now after he hangs up. Okay, so the recovery, I think John Rhys Davies had it pretty bad with his skin stuff.
He told me about that, yes. The reaction to his skin, the allergic reaction to the latex, the dwarf makeup was very bad for him. They've revised all their makeup approach. They have totally different things for latex and applications.
Well, back in the early days, it was quite challenging for him, and it sort of blistered, and it was he looked like Job, smitten with boils. It was pretty bad.
You saw it?
Oh yeah, we all saw it, and then he had to space out when he could work. He could only work for a certain period of time for a little chunk there, and
that's bad.
Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough for him, and I think it was during that time, something or other, that Treebeard, he got Treebeard, like Peter felt so bad for him, he asked him to do Treebeard.
He got to do that voice.
Not that he felt bad, whatever. Anyhow, I tell tales out of school, but my injury, the foot injury, was really fantastic. I ran into the water, and the piece of glass cut me right to the bone, and they took the foot off, and the blood kind of spilled all out, and we were on this alpine lake, so that took it was like an hour ride over a gravel road, and then another hour on a regular road, and so they brought in a helicopter who was piloted actually by the same guy who used to fly Jacques Cousteau around, so that was kind of cool. And the stitches, it was painful, but I was back to work pretty fast. It was great. Do
you have a scar that we can see? Do you have a scar?
There's no scar.
No, there's no scar?
No discernible scar.
Really?
Yeah, I've been injured on my feet several times in my life, and they never seem to leave a scar.
I would have thought you'd have posted that somewhere online.
I would have. It's not there. I actually can't remember which. I think it was my left foot.
Keith told me many, many years ago that Vox Populi was something you were very likely to do. He instinctually, he knew. He said, Sean has a real interest in these things. You watch what kind of interesting things he does.
Everybody's wanted me to run for Congress.
Yes, I've heard that conversation too.
I know. So, and it's really interesting how I actually managed a congressional campaign.
Yes.
Dan Adler ran for the 36th congressional district in a special election here in Southern California, and
that's right.
It was wow, what a ride! Everybody should be involved in some political campaign at some point in their life, because you really see a lot about the thinking of the candidate. Actually, I've wanted to do, like I said, I wanted to do the government shutdown. I wanted to do an episode about that.
Yes.
Well, my ability to sort of think clearly about anything other than the Kickstarter campaign during this period has been severely compromised. And I actually think that happens with our legislators. The second a congressperson gets to the House, they're welcomed in by their party's leader, and they say, congratulations, you're one of very few people in the universe who's ever been a part of this amazing club of responsibility. And now if you don't take in at least $5,000 every day between now and election, you will not have a seat to come back to. And so, and then the law is that they're not allowed to take money. What? Yeah.
Another call. Yeah.
No, they're not allowed to take money
Hello,
on the premises. They actually have to leave Capitol Hill. They have to leave the building in order to accept money. So you have this weird dance of the suits, where all of a sudden, and you can see it right on the whatever that staff building is called, the Hart Building or whatever. The light will turn green, and a whole bunch of suits will walk over, and they'll disappear into the pizza joint and the other restaurant, and then there's like little, kind of where you have private parties. They go in, oh, thanks, they shake their supporters' hands, they take the check and buy, and then they go marching back up to get back to Capitol Hill in time for a vote. It's this, and you're like, is this the best use of our people's time, is like to force them several times a day to leave what their job they're being paid for in order to get money to, and it's pretty unseemly, actually. So, and you wonder, can they think? Are they, instead of reading the legislation, instead of really talking everything through, they defer a lot of responsibility to the committee heads and to the party leaders. And if they have some specific issue that that is germane to their district, they protect that. As long as that thing is in there, they're cool. They can walk down the street to the pizza place to get their next $1,000. You know, it's like it's not pretty. And the only way we're gonna change it is if everyone knows about it to start, and then
we can agree to get money out of politics. Oof. That is the biggest tall order of the day.
Or at least shape the way the money in politics.
Yes, indeed. Hello, you're live on the air with Sean Astin. Who's this?
This is Edie.
Well, hello there, Edie. How you doing?
I am really good right now. How are you?
Edie, I'm doing great. Oh, hey, Edie, I'm looking at Wise Wizard 9, who's begging me to say the word grand or potatoes, and so I think I get a cut of whatever bet he just won. Okay, go ahead. Do you have a question for me, Edie? What are you thinking about?
I'm just thinking about how awesome it is to be talking to you right now.
I want to record that on my phone so I can play it for my kids. Somebody thinks it's awesome to be talking to me on their phone. Oh, my goodness. Where are you calling from?
Texas.
Where? Texas is its own country. Where in Texas?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Oh, I've been to Fort Worth. Dallas, Fort Worth.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We took our documentary to Dallas. There were lovely people down there in Dallas. Are you down there in that area?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry.
Very good. Do you have a question for Sean, sweetheart?
How long did it take you to read all of the books?
That's a good question. Thanks, Edie. It took me, I'd say it took 6 weeks.
Wow.
Maybe not that long.
6 weeks?
Maybe not that long. Well, we were doing stuff. I was like, yeah, I think it took 6 weeks to have read to properly have read everything. When I got to, because we got to New Zealand.
That's super fast for digesting the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Not if I told you I'm paying you money to do
it. Okay. Oh, sure. Okay, then that's a whole other thing. Yeah, but.
No, it was, I felt embarrassed that it took so long. But
I'm impressed, actually.
Everybody else had already read it. Not everybody.
You read it. Did you come away thinking with the feeling that Sam was the emotional core of the story, or did Peter ever say something to that ilk? Because fans have, there's a whole essays written about Sam
including the essay that I wrote and published. One of my things the thing is, a lot of people believe that the character of Samwise, not so much Frodo, is the entry point for the audience. You know, he's one of the first characters we're introduced to, and at the very end, on the last page, the door closes and the curtain closes, not on Frodo, but on Sam, as if he is the entrance point and the exit point for the whole narrative, because Samwise is the capital E everyman type character.
If you take Professor Tolkien at his word, that's exactly what he is.
Yes.
Mark Wardesky, the executive, used the phrase surrogate. He's the audience surrogate.
Yes, he is.
Who bears witness to everything. And the audience, somehow if you're an audience member.
Hello there. Well, go ahead. Hold on. Stay. Let Sean finish his sentence. Hold on, dear. We'll be right with you.
Okay. You're not going anywhere. I was just saying that the definition of audience member means like to observe. So you're somehow separated from the thing on some level that you're watching or experiencing.
Narrative distance.
What the audience wants is to be sucked into the concert, the movie, the music, the play, the whatever it is, and to feel no sense of separation between what's happening in the story. And so Sam definitely, because his values reflect, whether people realize it or not, their own values. We all want to live in a place that's safe and clean. We all want to be able to eat and drink, and have family, and all the things that Sam represents. And we'd all like to believe that, we'd all love for someone to be loyal to us. We want loyalty from people. We want fidelity, and we can't want it if we don't think we're capable of it. So that little thing is going on. We believe that on some level we're worthy of that kind of faithfulness. So I think Sam definitely does that. My response is that Sam is not the real or the true hero of the trilogy. I mean, I think there are many heroes of the trilogy without whom Sauron would not have been defeated. Or I was going to say Vigo, or Aragorn, and everybody really at some level, but all of the main kind of members of the Fellowship, and even the elves who turn up with Haldir, and So, but I feel like it's really an amazing thing for Elijah, who's gifted with those massive, beautiful blue eyes. Mm-hmm. They're orbs. They're like the eye of Sauron. I mean, he's got these fantastic eyes, and
he's like an anime character in real life.
He is absolutely, yes.
And Asian artists and animators draw eyes that way for their animated characters because they believe philosophically that the eyes are very much literally the windows into the character's soul, and that's why they want bigger eyes to have.
Frodo's a little better dressed than some of those anime characters, I guess. But my point is just that how do you, short of being a heroin addict, I mean, Fran Walsh and Peter would talk to Elijah a lot about the idea that the ring is like being addicted to heroin. Mm-hmm. So Elijah's a brilliant actor. He's a wonderful actor. He's not, in fact, addicted to heroin. So, it's like, how can you empathetically communicate what is essentially kind of a passive, at least in terms of what it looks like from the outside, experience? He's not, wielding sometimes he wields Sting, but it's something that's happening inside. So, Sam reaches out and holds him, picks him up and carries him. Mm-hmm. But what he's sacrificing on the inside, he's like Christ. He's sacrificing it on behalf of everybody else. And he's so you can't say that when you realize that those scenes at the end when they talks about how do you put back the pieces of a broken life and all that stuff. I
love that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love that.
So I feel like Sam sort of devoted to Elijah and Elijah's performance, and Frodo, as Tolkien, as I understand him, created him.
Did Peter Jackson or Fran or Philippa actually say to you on the side, Sean, you should know this going in, that you are the portal character, you are the everyman?
No, it's in the language. It's in the language.
You figured it out yourself quite quickly, I'm sure.
The audition scene was the scene with Shelob.
Oh, really?
Where
the audition script was Shelob?
The scene where Frodo had been stabbed and sort of wrapped up in Shelob's web. Yeah. And Sam comes over and says, "Don't go where I can't follow. He's not sleeping. He's dead."
Wow.
Wow. When all you have to do is say those words out loud. Don't go where I can't follow. Those words, the sound of those words, Tolkien's, it's music. It's like it's primordial. The sounds of the words connect to an emotion and an idea. So all you have to do is say them, and you almost can't say them wrong. And as soon as you say them, you realize you are, the person uttering those sounds is the protector. And I would sort of liken him to the prophets, really, or to the disciples. I think Sam is more of a, he's like he's like Matthew, Mark, or whatever, in that he bears witness to what happens. And it's Frodo who is sacrificed. So I haven't really talked that much about the kind of Christian. The Christianity in it very much. I mean, I've thought about it a lot, but I haven't talked about it a lot. But it's somehow true. When you talk about sacrifice, you sort of go, okay, well, the overarching Christian premise is that God sent His Son to sacrifice Himself, and so Tolkien sent Frodo to be sacrificed.
Yes. Professor Tolkien's Catholicism comes through all over the Lord of the Rings, especially in the triangulation between Frodo, Sam, and Gollum at the end. He said in his published letters that there was a reflection of the Lord's Prayer, the one that everybody knows from when they were a kid.
Yeah, Father.
And in the way that it says, forgive us our trespasses and forgive us those who trespass against us. Excuse me for getting it wrong. And Gollum is forgiven by Frodo.
Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Yeah.
Yes, and at that point, Gollum is therefore not killed when Frodo could have killed him after the Shelob encounter, and Gollum is therefore alive later on to help be there for Frodo when he can't destroy the ring at the end, and Frodo fails at the crack of doom.
That's a neat way you phrase that.
And Gollum is there to be, because of Frodo's grace to Gollum, Gollum is there to help save Frodo at the moment when Frodo has lost himself to the ring. So, and Professor Tolkien deliberately designed the Lord's Prayer to be part of that storyline. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
well,
right
you know about his arguments or his epic posture with C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
On Christianity and Catholicism and their debate. But I just publicly haven't really talked too much out loud. I haven't said those words out loud very much. I haven't connected. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit, but it's just weird how we got into it there.
No, those connections are definitely there. That's
hey, what
true.
about the lady who?
She's not there. The phone line went dead. I'm sorry we lost the caller.
I just want to say, whoever that was, I heard your voice. Thank you for waiting. It was a quirk of the battery dying on his phone that had you hang up on. But I apologize that we didn't get you. I feel bad about that.
We'll come back on.
Oh, we got somewhere else.
Do we have another caller?
Last call.
Okay, one last caller. Thanks for joining us live with Sean Astin on Torn Tuesday here at TheOneRing.net.
Hello.
Hello?
Were you the person who called before?
What?
Were you the person that called before? Did we hang up on you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, go ahead. Tell me your name and ask me a good question.
Well, I'm Courtney, and, my question would be, is that a lot of people are like, a lot of people have been saying that Frodo, he forgives Gollum, even though he tried to kill him and everything, like you guys are saying. And then he tells Sam to go home because he thought that he had eaten all the bread, and I'm kind of confused on that.
Good question. How old are you?
I'm 14.
14. Wow. What a very smart question. Thank you for that. Okay, so to me, they're two separate questions.
Yes.
One has to do with whether or not Frodo forgives Gollum,
right,
even though he tried to kill him. And I think the answer is yeah. I think the answer is yeah. I think he did. I think he felt sympathy for him. So I think that's akin to forgiveness.
Yes. Yeah, I would say.
So I think he does that because all hobbits are forgiving, number one, but two, Frodo has the ring, and Frodo is suffering. He's starting to suffer at that point, but he gets it. He senses what the suffering is going to become, how bad it's going to get, and he sees that Gollum suffered that way. So in being sympathetic towards Gollum, he's really sort of being sympathetic to himself. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay,
and then the second thing is he tells him to go home because he's gone a little crazy by the ring, and he believes that Sam has done the wrong thing, and he sends him home the way you would a dog that you told to stay at home, and he doesn't seem to hate Sam, but he seems to he's trying to say it hard enough at him. He's yelling at him loud enough just to get him to go, so he'll actually leave, because Sam just doesn't leave. And to me, those two things they're separate. It's like, how can Frodo forgive Gollum but get so mad at Sam? It's like, well, life is complicated, and sometimes those we're hardest and meanest to the ones we love the most, that are the closest to us. And sometimes, when we don't know what someone else is, whether or not they're good or bad, or whether we see ourselves in them, we can be forgiving of them. So that's part of the complexity of of life, and it's just amazing that Tolkien wrote that in one character for Frodo. So it's okay to be confused by that, but it's also good to know that sometimes things that seem like they're opposite can happen at the same time. A friend of mine calls it a simultaneous glimpse of the opposites. So,
indeed. And also, that's a great question. Thank you, caller. Very good. Also, there are some slight differences from the book and the film. There are some changes in the way some of the characters are doing things on the screen. We're going to have to sign off. I hate to have to do this after such a genius show, but can we remind our viewers, if they'd like to support, please, where can they go to your Kickstarter page?
Right, okay, so...
Since we never officially said that.
No, I really wanted to... everyone's been saying, have you engaged the Lord of the Rings community? And I'm like, well,
yes.
The Lord of the Rings community that's following me on Twitter, at Sean Astin, or the Lord of the Rings following that's follows my Facebook at Sean, or whatever, Sean Astin. Mm-hmm. But this is really the only formal portal that goes straight into the heart of the Lord of the Rings community that I've been able to make this little pitch for. So, Cliff, thank you for giving me a moment.
Of course.
My radio show, it's a political radio show called Vox Populi, Voice of the Occasionally Interested People. I've done 36 episodes of it. I'm really proud of it, but I can't do it by myself anymore. It's been largely done by myself. You can watch it on the Toad Hop Network, watch and listen to it, thetoadhopnetwork.com, or you can download it as an iTunes podcast. But basically, I decided to go to Kickstarter to raise money to hire a producer and another social media staffer and to do a couple of other things. So it's been great. It's been a success so far, but we have a lot to go in the last 7 days. We have 7 days left of our campaign. It's very simple. To help me, you go to Start the Vox, StartThe, V as in Victor, OX, startthevox.com, and it'll take you right to the Kickstarter page, and you can pick out something you like, an autograph, or sometimes one of the things that people really like is I'll call and leave their outgoing message for them.
I love that. I love that. Is so great.
So you can do that. You can get a
DVD.
There's this bracelet, there's wristband thing that I'm really proud of that you can get, and lots of other fun stuff. You can actually choose a topic on the show, which is really good if people have issues themselves or with their family or in their community. That's a really good opportunity to get, I don't know, we have an average of 12 to 15,000 people listen to the show. The most recent show we did had 24,000 people, so it's a cool platform, and I would appreciate if you go to Kickstarter and support the show, back it with at least $1. Just $1, and more if you feel it in your heart.
$1.50. You guys, fantastic show.
Cliff, always, thank you.
Mr. Sean Astin, what?
Did you see The Hobbit? Did your kids see The Hobbit?
That's...
What do you guys think?
If we have time, tell us your feelings on The Hobbit.
Anybody who backs me on Kickstarter, I'll personally write them back the answer to Did I See The Hobbit?
Excellent. You participate in the Kickstarter, he'll tell you personally what the deal was.
Well, I'll write a whole answer to that.
Oh, I love that.
And then I'll cut and paste it into every single one of you who come right now.
Genius. And I'm hoping that your kids were with you.
Yes. Dare I answer that?
No. Leave it secret. Keep it safe.
Keep it secret. Oh,
keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Sign up for back me at Kickstarter, and you'll find out if any of my kids came to see The Hobbit. Well, I'll tell you this for sure.
Okay.
The little one and the middle one did not, for sure. The oldest one, Allie, who played Eleanor at the end of The Lord of the Rings.
How old is she now?
She'll be 17 next month.
Good heavens.
Yeah, she was 2 on that day, or 3 that day that she filmed. In my response, I'll let you know if Allie came with me to see it or not.
Genius. Okay. Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh, just make sure you indicate in your email to me that you're listening, that this is how you...
on Torn Tuesday.
Torn Tuesday, yeah.
You were watching us on Torn Tuesday.
Yeah.
So everybody's saying good night, and one other question. What's the strangest place you've ever met a fan? Well, it all depends upon your perception of strange, I suppose.
You'd have to go with bathroom, but I'm not sure which one. There've been so many.
On top of the refrigerator? What's strange? Anyways, thank you for a great show.
Guam.
Follow Sean at Sean Astin on the Twitter feed in the Twitterverse. And if you look at hashtag #StartTheVox on Twitter, you'll see amazing call and response, a clarion call for you guys to get involved. It is a great format. It is a much needed breath of fresh air.
You've listened to the show. I love that.
In the fact of political discourse being as difficult and as slanted as it is in America today, this is the fresh air and the breath of life for a sleeping giant, no doubt about that.
4:31, Sean's Chicago Marathon time. Bless you.
Wow, 9 marathon time. Someone else was asking, when's your next race, by the way?
I don't know. I have to decide. I'm going to go sub-4 next year, though. That's my big goal. That's my dream. So.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome sauce. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Pixelated Funness.